This is a video tutorial on everything I do from start to finish in the morning with my Pretreater. It will help you out to understand the Pretreater and its functions and why we do the things that we do. So anyhow, okay, normally your Pretreater would be off. We just switch it on. There's a little arrow that should pop up on the LCD panel. I just usually touch that to get to this screen, which is our main screen. Okay, so you'll have your nozzles soaking in an ultrasonic cleaner at night. I have a combination of water and simple green, but very little simple green. So you can do this if you run out of cleaning solution for the Pretreater. That's specific for the Pretreater, not the cleaning solution that you normally buy to put in the printer. I have my nozzles in here, which I clean out every day. At the end of the day, sometimes at the start, like I'm doing now. I have this metal brush that I'll clean them out with. Also, you want to clean inside here where this black rubber piece is, and you want to clean underneath, which you just push the nozzle out. It takes out the black piece. You can, clean inside here after that. You clean this yellow cap. Make sure that no debris is inside this area. Just specifically, you're looking for, debris inside this black caplet, which is what we see now. So we want to make sure that no little tiny bits of Pretreater are in there, because what happens is when we put this cap on, the pretreatment gets filled up in this cap area and it'll push out the dried up chunks through the little nozzle. And these nozzles are very tiny and have a small space that the pretreatment goes through. So it can get clogged. Sometimes 99% of the time we can unclog it with an air compressor and just shoot compressed air through the nozzle this way, which I also have a video on. So if you follow the YouTube channel, you can also see that as well. But anyhow, you just want to make sure that this is clean, free of any little chunks, and then you just want to push down on it before you put it in the machine. Okay, so we'll get to that in a few seconds. The first thing we do is we make sure that we have enough fluid in each jug, which we're very low on the cleaning one. I'm not too worried about this right now, but I will end up filling up the pretreatment jug later on after the video. Just want to let you know that I'm aware of it and you should be aware of it too. This is very low. But I just have a shirt handy just to let my pretreatment drip on it so it doesn't get all over the place. Doesn't get on my table and make a mess. But I'm going to shake up each pretreatment jug, because the pretreatment chemicals disperse overnight or even after a few hours. So, if you're printing and, you've got, some time, 3 to 4 hours after your last job, and you come back to, the second time around of printing after, a few hours, you want to shake up the jug again. So this will get you the most consistent prints and without much difference in between your prints. So just make sure that you shake that up every time before you start a job, and if there's a long period of time in between jobs. So keep that there. You also want to make sure that the liquid is filled up in the jugs because of another reason. The pumps like liquid inside them, and they won't work if they're completely filled with air or get some type of air in. They're really not too temperamental, but it's a good idea to make sure that they're always filled with some liquid. Okay. All right, so moving on to the daily startup. Now, since I've got pretreatment in my jugs, I've got water in the lines from flushing it last night before I left. So now what I'm gonna do is hit the pre-coat function, and what that does is basically push out pre-treatment out of the lines. And I'm gonna do this without putting the nozzles in because there could be some pre-treatment chunks inside the lines that I want to get out before I put the nozzles in. So I have cleaning solution inside the bottle, and that cleans out the lines really well. So it breaks up overnight any pre-treatment that could be dried in the lines, could be dried in the valves. So that's another reason why I'm going to push out without the nozzles on the Pretreater, because I definitely don't want any chunks going into these nozzles. I've had these nozzles close to about 6 months and haven't had to replace anything. So I mean, they're a really cheap investment, which you should have on hand, but you can prevent getting these nozzles clogged if you do all of this preventive maintenance work. So minimize your cost and increase your profits by just doing these simple things and a few tricks. So that brings me to my next thing. Is I have a little screwdriver too, which will help you out if you have some type of clog inside the nozzle and you can see a pre-treatment chunk sticking out. You can just grab this and just push it back out and grab compressed air gun and push out the pre-treatment chunk that's inside here. So I keep this little tiny screwdriver handy. It's almost equivalent to the size of something you use for your eyeglasses. So I also keep this on hand. But anyhow, we'll get started. So if you look at the screen here, we've got 3 of them highlighted because I was doing some left chest prints yesterday. So what I'm going to do just temporarily is touch this, because what this does is it deactivates a nozzle. So if I press my pre-coat button right now, only 3 valves will be working. So 3 of them will be shooting out pre-coat, just like that. Okay. So I'll make sure that I pressed all of them. I'm just going to press it a few times, and then now I can just put on my nozzles. So I'm just going to put all 4 of them on now. I've already cleaned these this morning, so I just wanted to show you how to clean one of them, because we don't want to spend 30 minutes watching me clean nozzles. And now I'm just finding little bits that are in here and just getting them cleaned out, just with my finger, nothing special. This will save you a lot of headache if you just check this every time before you put them in. Make sure this black rubber piece is pushed down, of course. Okay, if you have the Pretreater 4, you can close this window and check the spray pattern of the Pretreat. If you have the 3, which, like me, this is a solid product. That's why I've had it almost 2 years. I don't really care to upgrade, even though I would love to, but this Pretreater works fantastic for me. It's a solid product. So anyhow, with the 3, I have to leave this window open and I can check my spray pattern. What we're looking for is if there's any choppiness in the lines, okay? We'll definitely notice it immediately if we have any choppiness. If we do see some, it could be because of the air that is inside from taking on the other end that's inside the jug out. Anytime you take that end out, it puts air in the system. So it could also be that, or it could be somehow, a tiny chunk of Pretreat is inside the lines and just happen to get in the nozzle, which can happen. Like I said, you can refer to the other video with compressed air to show you how to get that out. So here, anyhow, I'll just press this, Everything looks perfectly fine to me. I'm just gonna hold this for about 10 seconds and we're good to go. Okay, so that's what I do at the start up every time, and I have consistent prints. So now for closing up shop and turning it off and getting it ready for the next day, I'll just do this to one nozzle because we're going to start printing samples here anyways. But I'll take this off, I'll clean it, and then I'll put it in my ultrasonic cleaner. Just make sure you have enough clean solution in here so that the inside of this tip gets clean, okay? And that this black piece, this rubber piece is covered in solution. So you just want to make sure that that whole area is completely covered in solution. Okay, so we'll leave it in here overnight inside this ultrasonic cleaner. Once a week, what I'll do is just clean the area where the nozzle goes, just to make sure there's no buildup there. And once a month, we'll completely flush everything out, okay? So we'll take all the Pretreater out of the jugs, we'll take all the water out of the jugs, we'll put cleaning solution in specifically for the Pretreater, and we'll flush it out. And to do that, you press the water function and the pre-coat function. So you can do that and flush everything out. One thing I forgot to mention at the end of the day is to press the water function after you've taken the nozzles out, or before, it won't matter, but it's best to press the water function so that the lines completely free up from any pre-treatment, and just for 10 seconds so that the valves inside stay clean and not clogged. Okay, going back to the importance of flushing once a month. It keeps the valves clean. We've done extensive testing with leaving the pre-treatment in. Basically after 2 to 3 weeks is when, if you've left the pre-treatment in the machine for a long period of time without doing anything at all, the valves can clog. If you don't flush once a month and are using the pre-treatment machine consistently, you can have either a pump clog or a valve clog. The valves are the most expensive part, other than electronics, in the machine, which are warranted for the first year. But a valve, once a valve clogs, you just have to replace it. So anywhere from the 6-month to 8-month period, we've noticed that the valve can go out if you do not flush regularly. So if you flush more than once a month, then it will help the machine function better as well. But once a month is good enough for us, and we don't really see much issues if we do that. But we purposely test to see how long parts will last in the machine if we don't do the maintenance. So we know exactly how the machine functions, when the parts will need to be replaced, and why. Also, you need to make sure that you keep things clean. Just keep the rails clean. The rails inside that the carriage moves on, you can just lube with some lithium grease. Just put a dab on your finger and then rub it. You also want to make sure that the rails inside are also clean, so that you can prevent any buildup that is unnecessary. Keep the platens clean. Keep your gutters clean. Especially if you put a shirt on and it folds over, you want to make sure that the shirt is folded in so that the shirt doesn't get inside the gutter. So that, because if you get the shirt inside the gutter, you'll have a bunch of pre-treatment just stuck on the shirt. So that really doesn't look good, and it's a pain to get out. Also, just keep sensors clean. There's a bunch of sensors that detect the opening of you know, this top portion, the opening of the drawer, front and back movement of the carriage. And they look like this. The front and back ones will look like this inside the machine. So you just want to make sure that these are clean and they don't have any type of rust on them. And that only happens if you have some pre-treatment buildup. Pre-treatment can rust. Once it's built up and left for so long, it can rust. It just with a little bit of alcohol, you can clean these sensors off. There's little white ones inside here that detect the drawer, but the ones that the carriage detects the carriage front and back. So there'll be one right here and then one on the other side. Just make sure that those are clean, and if you need to clean those off for some reason, you can use one of this if it's pretty dirty. And like I said, you can just use some alcohol to clean them off. If you have any errors on there, like if the machine goes back, then you know definitely that you haven't lubricated the rails, or the sensor is malfunctioning because there's so much buildup on it. Other than that, that pretty much sums up everything you'll need to know about the machine. Just make sure, when you close up shop, you remember to push the water function and take off the nozzles, put them in the cleaner. Just make sure everything's clean. So if you make sure everything is clean and you flush regularly, like once a month, you should have absolutely no issues. This thing is a tank. So I still have the 3 version, and it's still rocking after 2 years. So the only thing I've had to replace, like I said, is because we did it on purpose, is because of we left the pre-treatment sitting for a bit. We've had to replace a valve, and then we haven't flushed for 6 to 8 months with using it on a regular basis. So 6 to 8 month period is when we had to replace some stuff. But anyhow, if you need any troubleshooting help, we're always here. We know this machine in and out, so there's no reason why you shouldn't have a solid product. And with our support, it's top tier. We know what we're doing. We've ran thousands and thousands of prints through this machine. We've ran thousands or 10,000s through our DTGs. We know how to use them, and we know why things break and when they break and why. So, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to contact support. And I hope you have an awesome day. I'm Anthony Creek with DTG Printer Parts. Peace.